Nagala adabdanitu gababsen sa atiket fayadamud afyala. So I also wrote this paper in English, so I'm going to speak in English. Sort of our presentations build on each other. We have okay. So I'm sorry, I lost my voice yesterday. I was at a protest, so I'm going to speak up, okay? So my paper is multi-generational phases of genocide against the Oromo in Oromia, Ethiopia. So as you've seen from the panel, there are different narratives and interpretations of what's happening to the Oromo people. Some people look at it as human rights, some people look at it as injustice, other people look at it as history, other people look at it as different things. I'm going to look at it as a genocide, okay? So So the purpose of this paper is to prove genocide, intent to destroy. In genocide studies, if you could prove intent, you have genocide regardless of the number of people who are killed. So just, as a footnote, I think like, the word, I don't take it like the word historical sort of misplaces the injustices that happens to the Oromo in the past, and I would like to, that's why I asked, include the current. So when I'm talking about genocide, I'm talking about the genocide of the past as well as the genocide that is committed by the current Ethiopian regime. The objective of this paper is to analyze historical, cultural, and ideological foundations of genocide against the Oromo in Abyssinian society and culture. We have to look at culture and society and mindset. I will start with a couple of stories. There were two, there were couples, okay? A guy gets married to an Amhara lady, and she uses the G word, she gets pregnant. Okay, she gets pregnant, and she says, "You're not gonna name my son a G word name." Okay, I'm using G word is the pejorative that they call us. Another case is a beggar who arrives at the home of a family and begs for food. Upon realizing the family is Oromo, that Amhara beggar turned away, refusing to eat the food. The point I'm getting at is there is a deep hatred which is fueling the past and the ongoing genocide against the Oromo people. So let me prove that. I'll explain the intent to destroy people. I'll discuss the problems with international courts regarding genocide in Africa. I will analyze types of exclusionary ideologies followed by present and past Ethiopian governments. I will show how 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries genocidal attempts by Ethiopia to destroy the Oromo in the south in whole or in part happened, okay? And I'll take your questions. If you have different opinions from mine, this is an ongoing discussion. I'll be presenting this paper at African Studies Association in November. So I'll use your points too. So I'm pretty sure many of you here are not in the United States just because of circumstances. Many of us are refugees. Some people come here as green card holders. Other people get married to other people and come here. But the overwhelming majority of the Oromo people here come here as, I see myself as a survivor of genocide, okay? I don't know how you see yourself, but you could think about it. Who of you hasn't experienced a genocide? Now an adult, I can recognize that as a child coming of age in Oromia, I was exposed to many crimes against humanity that rose to the crime of genocide. Myself, my family, and friends suffered from numerous undocumented abuses ranging from merely repressive lifestyles to genocide. I'm not So I lost 3 of my family members, okay, innocent, completely didn't commit any crimes. One is currently suffering in my Malawi, just because they are Oromo, okay? Many of you probably have that story. You're not telling it. I wish to talk about that just as a caveat, okay? So, subjected to Abyssinian hate and literature, we are subjected to. The Oromo speech is not a free speech. All of us have problems. We speak from certain discourses, and we are not coming forward and articulate issues. I noticed that even in the scholarships that are going on. You know, the police and the army have let us know that they hated us. They killed our kids. I'm not making a political speech. I'm doing a research presentation here. So this is a personal story, which is a caveat to what I'm going to talk about, okay? So the historical background, Henok talked about the Nazis and the Armenian genocide in terms of injustices. Pay attention to this phrase here. As soon as I have power, I shall have gallows after gallows erected, then the Jews will be hanged one after another until Germany is cleansed of last Jew, Adolf Hitler. Similar narratives do exist in Abyssinian culture, literature, and in the powers that are ruling the country and ruled the country. I believe that the nation as such must be completely exterminated. This is regarding the Herero people. General Van Trotha is a German general who spoke about, people in Herero in Namibia faced genocide. So he said this: I believe that the nation as such must be completely exterminated, or else if that we are not possible tactical measures, there should be an operation to expel them from the country and to take further specific measures. This is a letter written by one of the generals who led a genocidal campaign against the Herero people in Namibia. So you probably will find plenty in Ethiopian literature. It's not probably, you will find, I found, okay? The genocide, many of you probably will be aware of this definition by the UNGC, the UN Genocide Convention, defines genocide as, the 1948 Convention defines genocide as a criminal act committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, or religious group as such. The crime consists not only of the deeds, the actors reus, but in case of genocide, it must also include the mental elements, the mensaria, or guilty mind. So these two phrases, Henok already referred to it, the actus reus, the physical destruction, and then the guilty mind. When you prove genocide, you have to prove both. Not just like, people are physically destroyed. You have to find the hits that the leaders spew. Something called, there is establishing dolus specialis. It's just another word for special intent. Leaders, when they kill people, they kill them for reasons, okay? The International Criminal Court, the Criminal Tribunal on Rwanda specified genocide is distinct from other crimes because it requires dolus specialis, a special intent. It's a key element in an international offense, in a genocide offense. So, but basically, if you could pull together special intent, regardless of the number of people who are killed, if they're killed on the basis of their ethnicity, their nationality, their religious group, their affiliation, genocide can be proven, okay? Intent. So again, keep in mind that I'm talking about intent. I'm not talking about the entire area of genocide. I'm very, very specific here. The presence of intent in Ethiopia is difficult to discern because social scientists who study the culture might find an inordinate amount of hatred, but they are not genocide scholars who would immediately recognize that hatred as intent to destroy. If, okay, your basic speech, if you speak of an Oromo, some people will take it as an offense. If that turns them off, really what it really means is that there is a deep hatred against you, regardless of, because of your affiliation. So, the importance of civilians of a global recognition of genocide in Oromia, Ethiopia, is that the Ethiopian elites have from early 19th century used donor aid almost exclusively to implement genocidal policies. Aid is part of it. Arms from Europe, from the U.S., all of that. So the cultural mask that hides the Abyssinian genocide against the Oromo is the culture of secrecy, communicating in wax and gold type of communication. They don't openly declare like Hitler did or Van Trata did or the Hutus did in Rwanda. The language is sort of perfectly... Nadagaji tumiti? Haye. So the importance to civilians of a global recognition of genocide is really very important, and the Abyssinians do communicate wax and gold. So there are cultural factors that show that the Abyssinians, when I say the Northerners, hate the Oromo and they want to exterminate them. The desire here is not to beg journalists and others to create a genocide where there was none, but to explain and accept the bias and to prove that in Oromia, Ethiopia, genocide occurred several times in the past and is still quietly occurring. It's silent, it's going on. Hatred is an intent to commit. It's a desire to commit. Intent means you desire to commit a crime. You desire to kill people based on their membership in ethnicity, religion, based on the language they speak or the region that they occupy. So there are different types of intent. I'm not going to go into the details of that. So as I said earlier, in some countries, intent can be easily decipherable because the leaders make speeches that they're going to slaughter Tutsis, or they're going to slaughter the cockroaches, or stuff like that. You know, the use of the G word itself is a hatred against the Oromo people. You know what I mean? So the Oromo can show sufficient ancient hatred existed, and even it continues to exist today, so that the pattern of crimes against Oromo can easily rise to the definition of genocide. Centuries of racism, religious hatred, ethnic differences, and fear of the Oromo control the Abyssinian soul, and should be sufficient evidence along with proof of the genocidal acts to show the truth of the crime of genocide. So there are religious hatred based on history, and the first to exclude, the religious hatred is a form of exclusionary ideology. You know, it comes out of the, unfortunately, from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Abyssinians, both Amhara and Tigray, assert that their descent from the Queen of Sheba gave them a leave to conquer and bring their version of Christian civilization to inferior peoples as a manifest destiny to conquest that gave them permission to commit all manners of atrocities against inferior people. They used Kibranagast as a source of that exclusionary ideology. Now they use Hizbawiyadara, they use different kinds of literature within the EPRDF to exclude the Oromos. And if the Oromos don't toe the line, if you're not following, if you're not accepting the exclusionary ideologies, you're going to be exterminated as an extremist or a rebel rouser, whatever name they would give you. So the myth of superiority is there. You all know that. I'm going to pass that, and then the civilizing mission and so on. Another exclusionary ideology besides religiously inspired ideology is nationalism. Ethiopian nationalism, all nationalisms tend to be exclusionary in a sense, but Ethiopian nationalism is very exclusionary. Unless you're one of them, you're the enemy, you're the enemy of the state, you are the enemy of the people, you get immediately classified. So Ethiopian nationalism combines with religious exclusionary ideology, permeates the 20th centuries with, kind of religious kind of hatred. Peram writes, for example, it might be more true to say that the church itself was part of the very essence of Ethiopian nationalism. Portrayal of the Oromo as invaders continues to rage. Okay, if you've heard Moresh Wagane's speeches and so on, they said, the Oromo came from this place, that place, and we want to return them to the coast of the Indian Ocean. So speeches like that are not innocent speeches or just speeches because they're followed through by action. There are examples of that. Dr. Makria Bulchas mentioned about Hizbawiyadara and how the EPRDF wants to break the back of narrow nationalism sort of as a solution. They want to target every Oromo, sort of they target them because they belong to the Oromo, but they call them narrow nationalists. So you're targeted on the basis of your membership in a group here. So there are examples of massacres. The current examples of massacres happening against Oromo students protesting in the Addis Ababa master plan is one example. All the genocidal activities go down from 19th century to 21st century, and all these centuries are ridden with explicit or sort of covert ways of trying to eliminate the Oromo, either based on the religion they follow, as in the case of Wallo, or as in the kind of aspirations they have, the interests, or belonging in a group. Simply now, if you name yourself an Oromo name, it's still criminalized under current EPRDF. I know people who are in prison because they changed their names from an Amharic name to an Afan Oromo name. So this is a reality. We live in that. We can either choose to acknowledge that and make our discourses powerful or let our people suffer and die. So racism is another exclusionary ideology. I don't have time. I'm just going to flip through. Ethnicity is another thing. They discriminate based on your affiliation in the Oromo. If you're from the north, you will have better jobs so you don't get killed. Your school children, university students are going to be safe. But if you're from the south, including the Oromo, then it's a different kind of story. So interethnic conflicts, another methodology, a tactic of genocide to avoid responsibility. Fear, the Oromo, as I said earlier, the fear of the Oromo controls the Abyssinian soul. This is a reality. If you speak your language, you walk into a store and you speak Afan Oromo, immediately they step back as if you've spoken something really evil. Okay, and they lived with you in that empire built on genocide for centuries, but they don't know even, or they don't want to acknowledge what language you are speaking. Okay, it's happening even here in DC, okay? It's all around you. Biases, I'm not going to go into the international realm because I really ran out of time. 19th century, genocide started with Haile Selassie. He massacred a lot of people. I don't want to be speculative. Theodorus, you know what he did in Wallo, in Shawa, and a lot of other places. And he had a hatred, very deep-rooted, ethno-religious kind of hatred that's very irrational. Just because you're an Oromo, people want to exterminate you. So this reality continues today, okay? Menelik carried on with the legacy. Of course, the biggest genocide happened under Menelik. A lot of populations lost significant portions of their population, including the Oromo. The Kafa, the southern peoples, the Oromo, have lost significant populations, okay? I'll put this up because time is not favoring me. I'm going to just run through this, okay? So 20th century is characterized by genocide by attrition, slow killing of the intelligentsia, or people who are perceived to be dissidents, okay? I've seen many of my friends who I went to university with, we are here, okay? I'm not just saying you're lucky to be here, but there's a reason to it, because we can't be at our home to contribute to our society. We are here teaching or working, doing something in here because we don't have the opportunity to do that, okay? I'm finishing up. Just let me go to the conclusion. EPRDF continues the same thing, okay? You know the examples. I'm not going to repeat the cases of the present steer. Dr. Makria Bulcha already covered that part very well. So the Addis Ababa Master Plan is another thing. And you have denial, as my colleagues there referred to, Hamaresa. The mass grave situation that was revealed, about 27,000 people were wiped out during the Derg and the TPLF government. Conclusion, okay? Genocide scholars need to revisit the country known to the world as Ethiopia in order to recognize the facts that are rarely being exposed to the global view. Any of the mass murders of the subject people in Ethiopia, such as the Oromo, Ogaden, and the South, need to be redefined as genocide. The donor countries and the World Bank need to recognize that they are funding genocide with every dollar given or loaned to the Ethiopian government. Despite the already serious imbalance of power, if the donors would only stop what they're doing, they need do nothing else to remedy the situation. The US can just withdraw its aid and the TPLF will stop committing genocide. A very simple formula. Or they condition aid on respect for human rights and whatever language you want to use. But let me make a strong point. We need to speak in one voice about the suffering of our people and be careful not to minimize the facts. Facts speak for themselves. It may not be sometimes convenient for personal interests or whatever, but please, our discourses are controlled by global, local regimes, and we're not free as people when we speak. We're very, very, very reserved. So we need to make a point, make a case, and sue the Ethiopian government for genocide against the Oromo people and spread the word and stop genocide. Thank you very much for
Inganu didera anu lammi gadisa ofima